Okay, what we're going to learn to do here, or we're going to review first of all, division of monomials with numerical exponents. And then we're going to learn to divide monomials with unknown exponents. Unknown exponents are the exponents like n, right? So if you have an and az, you're going to learn how to divide variables with unknown exponents. So we're finally learning something new. Up until now, all we've been doing is review. So all the stuff that we've been doing up until now should look familiar to you, or should sound familiar to you, because you've done it in your other books. So let's get started in learning how to divide variables with exponents. Okay. Pretty much the steps are the same, right? For dividing and multiplying, the steps are the same. First, you look at your signs. Well, you've got 1, 2, so it's an even number, so your answer is going to be positive. You're not going to write nothing. You're just going to leave it blank. Then you look at your numbers. What's 56 divided by 8? 56 divided by 8 is 7. Okay. A quick way of doing this is asking yourself, well, what times 8 equals 56? 7. So that's how I know my answer is 7. Now here, the rules kind of flip. They flip. When you're multiplying variables, you add the exponents, right? So a times a, I add the exponents, so I get a squared. Well, when you're dividing, you do the opposite. You subtract the exponents. So here we're not going to be adding exponents like we do in multiplication. We're going to be subtracting the exponents because it's division. Okay, so we figured out our sign, we figured out our number. Now let's figure out the exponents. Well, what's 4 minus 3? 4 minus 3 is 1, so that's a to the first. Remember, when the exponent is 1, you don't write it. You leave it blank. Everybody is supposed to know that when there's no exponent, the exponent's understood to be 1. Like right here, there's no exponent, so I know my exponent's 1, right? So what's 4 minus 1? X to the third. 4 minus 1 is 3, so that's my answer. 7a x to the third. See how easy that was? Okay. Now, what times 3 equals 18? 6, so my answer is 6. I've got an even number of negatives, so my answer is positive. And then I look at my variables, right? X, so 4 minus 3 is just 1, so that's just x. That's my answer. Okay. This is a little more complicated. Here you're going to have to reduce this fraction, and you reduce by finding the largest common factor. Well, all the factors of 49 that I know are 1 and 49, and 7 times 7 times 7. Okay? Well, let me write it in a line. 1, 7, and 49. Those are the factors of 49. Now let's do the factors of 56. Well, the ones I know are 1, probably more, but let's just keep it simple. 1 and 56, and 7 and 8 and 56. There's 2, like 25, 28. 2 times 28. 2 and 28 are also factors, but I'm not going to write that because the one that really matters here is the 7. See, that's the largest common factor. So to find the lowest common denominator here, I'm not the lowest common denominator. To reduce this fraction, I divide by 7 because that's the largest common factor. Okay, so 49 divided by 7 is 7, and 56 divided by 7 is 8. Now you notice here we have an odd number of exponents because there's just, an odd number of negatives. There's only one negative, so that's an odd number, so my answer is going to be negative. Okay. Now that we've done the sign and the numbers, we're going to do the exponents. So here we have x to the first and x to the second. We're going to subtract 2 minus 1. Now a common question is, well, do I put the x in the numerator or do I put the x in the denominator? You put the x in the denominator because the bigger exponent determines where the x ends up. So since the bigger exponent is in the denominator, the x stays in the denominator. Same with the y. We got 2 minus 1, we get y to the first, because 2 minus 1 is 1, so y to the first power. And since the bigger exponent was in the denominator, the y stays in the denominator. Now, if it would have been y to the fourth and x to the third, what we would have had is, since the bigger exponent would have been in the numerator, your x would have been up here, and it would have been x and a y to the second, because 4 minus 2 is 2, right? So y to the second. But since the bigger exponent was in the denominator, your variables stay in the denominator. Got it? I hope you got it. If not, ask me in class and I'll give you further explanations. But this should be enough for you to understand. If you need to watch the video again, pause it, think about it, Okay. Here we've got an odd number of negatives, which is 1. Right? 1's a negative, an odd number, so we're going to write negative. Then you're going to divide 72 divided by 12. What times 12 equals 72? Okay, that's your question. Well, it's 6. 6 times 12 equals 72. So your answer here is going to be 6 because 12 goes into 7, or 72 divided by 12 is 6. Now we know our number, we're going to do the variables, x and x. Okay, well, 3 minus 1 is x to the second, right? 2 minus 1 is just y to the first. I don't write the 1, I just leave it blank. And 2 minus 1 is just z. I don't write the 1, I leave it blank because it's understood to be there. Okay. We have 1, 2 negatives, so that's an even number of negatives, so my answer is positive. Then I'm going to do 7 minus 5, it's y squared. Now I'm going to do 12 minus 3 is z 9. Because 12 minus 3 is 9. That's my answer there. Okay. Here we're not going to be able to divide, so we're going to reduce, because whenever the numerator is smaller than the denominator, you reduce. Okay. So again, we're going to find our common factors for 15. The factors for 15 are 1, 3, 5, and 15. Because 1 times 15 is 15, and 3 times 5 is 15. Then we're going to find the common factor, or the factors for 45. So I'm going to do 1 is 1. Then 3 times 15, 3, and 15 is 45. And then 1 times 45 is 45. Okay, so we got 1 times 45 is 45, and 3 times 15 is 45. Now it looks like, oh, and we forgot 5. 5 and 9. Okay, so it looks like 5 is the biggest common factor. So we're going to divide both of these by 5. If after we reduce, it looks like we can still keep reducing, we do this process again with our new fraction. So anyways, 15 divided by 5 is 3, because 5 times 3 equals 15. And 45 divided by 5 is 9, because 5 times 9 equals 45. So our answer is 9. And you look what happened. Look at what happened here. We messed up. You know what? Our greatest common factor wasn't 5. Our greatest common factor was 15. You see what I mean? I can tell already that I could still reduce the 3 and the 9 some more. So we used the wrong greatest common factor. I'm not thinking. So the greatest common factor is 15. Maybe you caught that and I didn't. So the greatest common factor is 15. 15 divided by 15 is 1. We're not going to write the 1. And 45 divided by 15 is 3. Right? 45, because 15 times 3 equals 45. And now that we've got the signs and the numbers done, we're going to work on our variables. So here we've got x to the fourth, x to the second. We're going to subtract. And since the bigger exponent's in the bottom, the x is going to stay in the bottom. X to the second. Okay? And same thing, since the bigger exponent's in the bottom, the y is going to stay in the bottom. So 4 minus 3 is just y to the first. And since there's nothing left on top, what I write is 1. Okay? Because 15 goes into itself once, so we finally write the 1. Now, if there would have been some variables left on top, I wouldn't write the 1. But since there's no variables left on top, I write the 1, because I can't leave it just with no numerator. It would look funny, so I'm going to write the 1 there.